What's up, everybody? Today we're going to be doing a Smite tier list. This is getting made on August 20th of 2016. So this is just, I think, 3 or 4 days before patch 3.15, I believe, is going to be released. Um, so the patch that just came out was the Medusa patch with the mermaid Medusa skin, the end of the Summer of Smite. All of that stuff just came out. So we're dealing with a lot of changes. I wanted to go through where I think the meta is at the moment, which gods are doing well, which are doing bad. I think there's a lot of good changes coming through with items, new items coming out. One in particular that I want to talk about. I think the tank meta is kind of falling off a little bit. It's not as much of a tank meta. I think it's a little bit more of maybe a mage focus meta at the moment. Um, but there are, of course, some tanks that are like the elephants in the room right now, specifically Fafnir. He's considered to be like the most OP god in the game, which I completely agree with. So we'll talk about him, and we'll just go through it, and we'll start with Agni, of course, like we do every tier list. Agni is okay, is still going to be A tier. Most tier lists that you watch, of course, I'm not like a professional player. I don't have as much insight as a lot of the pros do, but I do try to keep up on my information. I do watch other tier lists. I watch pro play. I play ranked and casual, Smite, so hopefully I have enough knowledge that I can make a tier list. And of course, be aware that this is going to be opinion. A lot of it is going to be opinion. There should be kind of this objective viewpoint of how a tier list should go. But of course, little tiny, things can be changed depending on the person making the tier list, what they've observed. So just keep that in mind when I'm making this tier list. Another thing before we start going into it, if you haven't seen a tier list before, the tiers are listed from SS being completely broken, S plus meaning first pick, first ban, the best gods in the game, the one that you would want to have on almost every team. S tier are your top picks and bans, maybe not the first pick or first ban, but like top picks, top bans, gods that are going to be banned a lot and picked a lot. These are the core gods that you're going to be seeing a lot in pro and ranked play. A plus gods are gods that are also going to be seen in play, but not as often. Some of them might be comfort picks. They may just be gods that are picked every now and then. Let's say a bunch of the S tier gods are banned. You might go to an A plus god, so you're not going to see them as much, but you will see them in play. They're just a little bit more sparse in play. A tier is gods that are good, can definitely be played, but will only make a few appearances, aren't going to be super common, but are definitely good, can be played. This is basically the comfort pick tier right here. There's just going to be a whole lot of gods. Most tier lists have a bunch of gods in here that can perform well, but are not going to be the best picks. They're just good, solid gods. B plus, you're verging into some dangerous territory with this tier. B plus gods are considered to be not viable in ranked or pro play. And of course, keep in mind, this tier list is focusing on pro play. Ranked tier lists are similar, but there are going to be some differences. But B plus gods, in order for you to pick a B plus god in like a pro or ranked game, you have to really, really like the god and be very good with them. The rule of thumb is that a lot of times you have to build a comp around a B tier god or B plus god, so they're not the best. They're verging on some of the worst gods in the game. B tier are usually going to be the worst gods in the game. Not very viable. You have to build an entire team around them. You shouldn't pick them. C tier or don't ever pick them. They're really, really bad. Um, Even if you build a comp around this type of god, they're still probably going to feed. That's C tier. And D tier is like unbelievably bad. No gods are ever in D tier. It's very, very rare. So those are the tiers. We'll go back into it. Agni is an A tier. Is one of those gods that can be picked but does not perform particularly well. Can feed a lot early because he has bad clear. If the jungler knows what he's doing, he can just focus Agni early, kill him. Especially let's say if Agni doesn't level up his dash first. An Agni without a dash is like a sitting duck in the mid lane. So if that jungler rotates right after camps, goes right after the Agni. You get a very early kill on him. Agni is done after that. He really relies on surviving the early game to get to that mid game where he can get those gold furies. Going into late game, getting the fire giant secure with his ultimate. That's where he thrives. Very good at getting objectives, but other than that, he's really just okay. And again, just focus on the clear. With mages, clear is very, very important, and Agni does not have the best clear. Amu's and Cab is probably at the bottom as one of the worst gods in the game. You have to build an entire comp around this god because he has no escape. He's very slow. His ultimate is a skill shot. It can miss quite a bit. He has great lane clear. That's his MO is having great lane clear. But other than that, he's not very good. He also does the opposite of what an ADC is supposed to do. An ADC is supposed to start off weak and carry into the late game and get very, very strong late. AMC is the opposite. He starts super strong early, has amazing wave clear, can harass the enemy hunter, but once he does that, he can't go anywhere with it. He doesn't get huge. He doesn't get crazy because again, he still relies on abilities, and he's a very ability based hunter. In late game, he may have a lot of kills. He may be doing very well. He may be fed, but he's still gonna get killed late game. Doesn't matter how good you played as AMC, you're still going to be in trouble late. So that's his biggest issue. And if you compare that to, let's say, a Rama or a Shibalonki, well, not Shibalonki, but let's look at Rama. Rama has a very weak early game, but what Rama can do is he can survive the early game against an AMC, not get completely dominated, just hold his own. And then by the time mid to late game comes around, his items are going to come online, and he's going to be good. So he just has a much better shot late game compared to AMC. That just shows you why the B is bad. Do not pick him in a serious game. Opwash is also B, probably, in my opinion, right on the same level as AMC, one of the worst gods in the game. He is very, very bad in Conquest, and the main reason behind that is because his abilities are extremely clunky. So his corpse explosion, he cannot do through walls. And in Conquest, being able to use abilities over walls is actually huge. Poseidon, I'm just using some examples. Poseidon can put a whirlpool over a wall. Hebo can go over a wall. What other mages? Isis can, go through. They all have abilities that can go through walls. Apwash does not have that. He's very, very bad in the jungle, so you really have to be careful. His corpses can sometimes go out in a strange way, so they might hit a wall when you mean to go through an opening. And not only that, but it's a slow combo. The corpse explosion is not automatic. It's not one burst ability. You have to use several abilities in order to get the entire burst off, which allows the enemy to have time to get out of that AoE and avoid the damage. So a lot of times Opwash's burst will miss, and that means you've used your 3, your 2, and your 1. You've used all those abilities and you've missed all of your bursts. Maybe you've gotten some damage off of the 3 and maybe the corpses, but you're really not getting as much damage output as you need with him, and his ultimate is basically useless. So Opwash is not very good. Arena, he's great because, again, very wide open space. He can throw his corpses wherever he wants. Not a big issue. Assault is awesome because his ultimate can hit the entire team because there's nowhere to hide in Assault. There's just one lane. His ult will cover the entire thing. So he's great in Assault, great in Arena. Can do well in Siege, I think. I wouldn't pick him in Siege, but... and then Clash, I think he's not good in Clash because he can get ganked. Clash is a very high ganking type of game mode, so you have to be really careful with that. On Her is very good. On Her, I think, is an A+ hunter. He's a perfect example of what I was saying with the A+ tier, where he's kind of a comfort pick, but he's also one of those hunters that can be a great backup. Let's say your main role is ADC, and you have one hunter that you love who's in the S tier. Let's say you play Rom like all the time. You love to play Rom, and then Rom gets banned, but your backup is On Her. You can absolutely pick On Her, and it's safe. It's a good pick. You're gonna have a good early game. If you're matched up with a Sobek in your lane, you're going to dominate probably. So he's in that perfect spot. of being like a good backup. He's like the sixth man of Smite, if you want to think of it that way. Um, so that's kind of his role, and I think that's perfect for him. It fits him very well. Not the best hunter, but does a very good job. Amaterasu is currently the best soul laner right now. Her clear is not great, but her team fight makes up for it. I think the meta right now is big on objectives and objective fights and being able to secure objectives. That's why you're seeing a lot of players pick up Wrath. I think Wrath getting buffed made objective fights a little bit more scary and intense, and um, of course you're looking at pro play with this, because in a casual, you might get like every gold fury in a match and the enemy team might never notice because of that's casuals. But if you look at it like a pro game, anytime someone goes for a Gold Fury or Fire Giant, the other team is going to be there, and they're going to strategically try to place their Wrath in the right spot, get their big, huge ultimates off, whatever. And having an Amaterasu just will make those objective fights a huge cluster, a big mess, and she also has that stun on it. It's a great ability for that, and that's really why she's the best soul laner, in my opinion. Not great clear, doesn't matter. Her passive also procs the new item. I think it's the new item. I might have gotten that wrong. Um, there's something with her passive. I've honestly forgotten what it was. It's a very important detail. I saw this. If you want to, you can check out Weekend's tier list that he did recently. He had a point about Amaterasu's passive that was very important. I can't actually remember it right now, but it's one of the reasons why she's in S tier. Anubis is is pretty bad. I had him in A tier last tier list, but that's because he had just gotten some buffs and there was some hope. And some pro players were getting like they were wanting to play Anubis, so I was like, oh, maybe he'll have his time. He's not. He's still Anubis, so not much more to say about him. If you've seen the tier 5 vote for the skins, don't vote for Anubis. The main reason for that is because uh, to get the all of the Odyssey skins, you have to pay quite a bit of money, like hundreds of dollars. And in my opinion, if the entire Odyssey was leading up to an Anubis tier 5 skin, I think that would be awful. So if you haven't voted for the tier 5 skin for the Odyssey, please vote for like Soul or even Kukulkan, because Anubis is a waste, and you're going to have like this skin that's pretty cool, but you're not going to ever use it because Anubis is bad. So that's the one thing that I don't like about that tier 5 vote, but that's okay. Ao Kuang is still very strong. I'd put him in S tier. Of course, I said this is a pro tier list, and most pros put Ao Kuang in A plus because you can definitely counter Ao Kuang if you focus him early. Um, but I think this tier list is mostly pro, but also considering ranked. In general, Ao Kuang is very, very good, and just hard to beat. And of course, you can focus him early and make sure that it doesn't get huge late game. But because he has the teleport, it makes it a lot harder to focus him early. So he's really not the easiest god to focus because of that, and he's very good at slipping out of fights. So that's why he's a perfect jungler in every way. Aphrodite is still bad. I saw some people. I'll put her in B plus just because. But I saw some people running. I still see people try to run Aphrodite support. This is the dumbest idea ever. Do not ever run Aphrodite support. The reason being, if you're playing against a support who knows what they're doing, they're going to get cursed and they're going to wreck you. Like, there's no question about it if you get it, because she has no escape. Not only she has no healing with it, but she has no escape. If you're playing with support who knows what they're doing, if they're being aggressive, they're going to focus at Aphrodite and just kill her, and she's going to be just done for the rest of the match. If you are going to play Aphrodite, take her mid, please, or solo. Those are the two places that she can do well. In my opinion, mid is the best. Her early clear is not very good, but she can have the jungler there to use her lifelink, so she can get a little bit of the mana from that with that ability. So she's not very good. Still gets, you just focus her if you're playing against her and make sure that she doesn't do what she needs to do to be good late game. Apollo is very good. I think is up here with on her. has pretty good clear now without Golden Bow. It doesn't, it did hurt him a little bit, but it's not that big of a deal. He's still aggressive enough, and his passive makes it so his clear is better than other basic attack hunters like Artemis. Um, and he has that global ult, which is just really an invaluable ability. It allows him to split push super easily, allows him to get the tower, get out, which makes him a very safe god mid to late game. So Apollo is good, very strong. Another one of those with on her. If the top tier hunters are out, if they're being banned, you can definitely fall back on an Apollo and do well. Arachne is not good. She's going in the B tier. Unfortunately, Arachne, can lock down gods early, but her spiders become completely useless. Same with Bastet. Mid to late game, her spiders become completely useless. She has a better escape now. She can actually projectile the spiders in front of her and use that as a speed boost to get away from fights. But her late game, she's so risky, and it's really just not worth it. It's one of those. It's kind of like an AMC situation where you can do very well early with Arachne. You can wreck. You can get like 5 kills. But once you get to that late game, it doesn't matter. You're still going to be squishy and easy to kill. And you can't. You really have to focus single gods late game in order to be safe. If you're jumping into a team fight as Arachne, you're going to be in big trouble. So she's just not good. I wouldn't recommend playing her at all. Aries is pretty good. He's okay. I'd put him in A tier. He's a good guardian. In general, as I said, I think the tank meta is kind of declining. Um, for a long time, Athena, who else? Kumba, Bacchus, they were all like top tier, and I think it was after DreamHack. But now that we're coming up on the fall split, which is really what this tier list is trying to accomplish, is preparing for what I think the picks will be for the fall split. I don't think that supports are going to have a huge role in the fall split. I think that it's going to be a lot more mixed. There are some stats from the Epsilon Invitational recently, and it said that like 60 gods, or like 57 out of the 75 or whatever gods, 78 gods that we have now at Smite, 50 of them were picked, which means that there's a huge range of gods that are being picked, and pro players are trying to figure out who is going to be in the meta. I think a lot of them are confused because there wasn't any summer split to use as a reference. It's been a long time since we had DreamHack back in the spring. So I think people are trying to figure it out. You're going to be seeing a lot of pros that are streaming, trying out different things. That's what's been happening all summer. And so the fall split is just going to be a consolidation of, comfort picks along with what the latest patches have been. And of course you're going to see what happened in the Epsilon Invitational. There are some gods that are going to come out of that, like Fafnir, Nemesis, lots of different gods that I won't name all of them, who are going to fall. You're going to see in the fall split that's going to carry over a little bit. So that's kind of what this tier list is doing. Aries, I think, could absolutely be played in Europe. Europe definitely plays Aries a lot. Murder is back on a team. I don't remember what team he's on now. He's switched so many times, but he's back on a team. You're probably going to see Aries from him, so I wouldn't be surprised. And iRaffer might pull out Aries as well. Probably not going to see him in NA, but you will see him a little bit, I think. Artemis is not great. Not good clear. I think with the new crit item, she could be okay. Maybe if you run that crit item like third item. Of course, I don't see that crit item being used too much. I don't know how good it's going to be. There doesn't seem to be a place for it in the build, because usually when you build hunters early on, you want mana from Transcendence, or you want some lifesteal, or you want some early pen with like Itch of All or something, but Itch of All is not super popular. You really want like Aussie, the lifesteal, or Transcendence. And if you get, let's say you get Death Toll, Boots, Dev's Gauntlet, or something like that, or you go like Transcendence Boots, right after you get Transcendence Boots, you really should get a lifesteal item, because that fourth item is when you're going to start looking for the power curve. You're going to want to get your first real power item fourth, and if you go like this new crit item, which is called It's like Poison Star or something, I don't remember. Something poison. It's a crit item, doesn't it gives you like 10% crit, 30 physical power, and some passive that allows for slows and low movement speed or something, I don't remember. Um, but that item just doesn't fit in the build, so I could see it maybe working on Artemis as a second or third item, but I don't see it fitting in. We'll see what happens if it gets picked up in the future. Um, Athena, I think, is still very strong. I've seen some people like I think Incon and Weekend had her an A plus. I still think she's S tier. Turton is very very strong. I don't see any reason to put her lower than S. She's top tier in my opinion. Wheelix is actually not. She's okay. She can, she's a really a comfort pick. You will see her do well when she's played in the pro league, but I don't think that her kit allows for as much utility as some other junglers. Um, I think that she has great mobility, and she can, she has pretty good gank potential. But there's just other junglers out there who do a little bit more damage and a little bit more lockdown than she does. So she just isn't really the top pick right now. Bacchus is A plus. Wasn't S tier for a long time. I think the knockup is now considered to be the best form of CC. I don't think, for some reason, knockups have always been pretty OP, but no one really considered the knockup to be the best form of CC, and now it's definitely clear knockups are the best form of CC. And especially if you have two knockups, so if you have a Bacchus with a Hebo or Bacchus with a Wheelix, Bacchus with Vulcan, those kind of things like back and forth just offers a lot of control, especially since Bacchus can knock up several people. It's almost like he has a Sylvanas ult in just one of his regular abilities, so that's makes him very strong. Um, Normally, I would put Athena and Bacchus in the same tier, but I do think that once the fall split comes around, you're going to see those more safe picks as support, and that's again because I think the support meta is falling off, and when the meta shifts from tanks to something else, people just say, "Well, we'll just go back to um, our ball and chain, which is Athena." So that's why I think that she's a little bit ahead of Bacchus. But you will see a lot of Bacchus in the fall split. Bakasura is very bad, also B tier, verging on C tier. He struggles without the extra early XP, which he got from the Soul Lane board camps. If he played Soul Lane back early season 3 when he was good, um, cannot get enough farm, cannot do enough early to make up for the fact that he's going to feed late. He's again has kind of the AMC situation where because he doesn't have any real CC, has to focus on his basic attacks for most of his damage. He has movement speed, but he's a lot of difficulty locking gods down. Um, and that just makes it very difficult for him late game. Same with Arachne. Arachne has to focus. She has abilities, but she has to focus on her basic attacks. And when you get to that late game and you have big team fights going on, you're gonna see those big burst abilities, those Thor hammers, those long range things. Those will just help you to be a lot safer. That's why Arachne, Bakasura, those basic attack junglers, they just struggle because they can't do well in team fights. And again, objective Gold Fury, Fire Giant objectives are big right now in the meta. So that's all team fighting. Bastet is B plus. She's not very good either. Strong early game, but again, you're gonna see that kind of theme that a lot of these really bad gods have pretty good early games. They can do well if in a casual or even ranked match. They can do well early and then maybe be okay late game. But you get to a pro game, even if they do well early, even if they get an early kill, the enemy team is going to figure out how to stop that, and they're going to figure out how to take them down because they know what they're doing. Bellona is okay. She is in the first time, well, not the first time, I guess maybe like a month ago, she was in the same kind of spot. But before like a month ago, she was considered to be broken for like her entire lifespan, and it's been over a year. It might have been like a year and a half since Bellona was released. She's had this weird, slow, tiny decline from like super OP to like really, really OP to still like pretty crazy, and then less, less, less. And finally, as the soul laners have kind of calmed down a little bit. Not all of them are super S tier. You know, they've soul lane has calmed down so much since the beginning of season 3, which I love, because there's nothing worse than like having Vamana and Osiris and Bellona and all these like soul laners just wrecking every game. Now Bellona is actually in a good spot. I think a lot of other soul laners are going to be in the same spot as she is, so that's interesting. Kabrakan is bad. He's okay. Um, can be played jungle. You might see it on Paradigm, but I feel like the Kabroken craze is over. Um, and he's really just okay. You're not going to see him very much. Shock is also okay. Yeah, he could be A tier. Shock could be A tier. His ultimate is better than it was. I'll give him that. Good lane clear, but has no lockdown. 0 CC. Like his slow is useless. It's not that big. Like really, you could. It's a neglectable ability. His slow. His ultimate's okay. Getting great lane clear, but once he gets to late game, just stands around and he doesn't do anything. You know, like he hits you with an axe. Yeah, maybe you took away 50 of my health, but you're shocked, so it doesn't really matter. So he's an A tier. Could probably be B plus. Chunga is B plus. Um, as far as healers go, Chunga, Aphrodite are like the best ones, but that doesn't mean they're good. Chunga and Aphrodite don't have any place to go in Conquest. Now, if you take them into Arena, that's a different story. They can do pretty well in Arena. They can do pretty well in Joust. Um, you know, so it depends on the game type. I think healers in general should stick to like Joust and Arena and those kind of things. But when it comes to Conquest, healing just doesn't make sense. Healing mages just don't make sense. So she struggles a lot. Chiron is okay. I would put him at like lower A tier. He might have a resurgence in the fall split, mainly because we haven't seen him in a long time. But I don't think his ultimate is particularly wonderful. His lane clear is good. You know, he has that cheapo auto hit ability. It's pretty good dash, but they're just other gods with just better kits in general. And like he's just kind of boring. I don't know. I've never really liked Chiron, but he's okay. He's doing well. Chronos is very strong, A plus. Um, Chronos can have a lot of trouble if he doesn't survive early. If you focus on Chronos, you can take him down. There's nothing bad than a late game Chronos that has been feeding, because it's just like embarrassing to watch. Like their little time rifts do like no damage, and they're fast and they're quick, but their basic attacks don't hit that much, and it's just kind of this weird thing. But if you get going on a Chronos, like watch out, because he's going to just be this machine. So Chronos is pretty good, A plus. Cupid, I think, is A. Good sustaining hunter, kind of a niche role. Cupid is always kind of that joke god who will be like in A tier for the forever, or B tier, whatever. Um, but just his harp arm is his real only damage besides his ult. Um, his hearts fall off like late game. His hearts are useless. No one's gonna like in the middle of a huge team fight at the fire giant. No one's gonna be like, oh, let me pick up these Cupid hearts. Oh wait, Amaterasu just ulted my face off while I was collecting these hearts that give me 20 health back. Like his hearts are useless. His dash is a good dash, but that's all it is. Doesn't do any damage. His ultimate is big, but you can just get a sprint, so he's very easily countered. You can see why there's a lot stacking up against Cupid. But can be played. Will you see him in the SPL? Probably not. Fafnir. Okay, so here we get to Fafnir. I'm gonna put Fafnir in S tier. Some people have been putting him in S plus. I don't think he's S plus. Now, right away, his curse strength, his one ability, is very strong. It's a good root. I mean, good stun. It also slows enemies around in the area. Very good ability. The only issue with that is it can miss. It can miss quite a bit. It almost has like the hitbox of a Sylvanas pull, maybe a little bit better than Sylvanas pull, but it's pretty close. So it can miss quite a bit. Dragon form, they just nerfed a little bit. So, it's not as strong, but he is still very good, aggressive support. If you see someone who is a good Fafnir, it's going to be a tough match for you. Another thing to add, Fafnir Rama lane is the best dual lane right now, by far, because of course Rama lives off of that attack speed. He loves to have extra attack speed. He has his own attack speed burst buff, sorry, along with a Fafnir buff that makes his early clear crazy. It's almost like going back to Golden Bow status with Rama because of how fast his attack speed will be early game. So Fafnir and Rama is good. Now you would think because Artemis has an attack buff in her kit, you would think that Artemis Fafnir would be a good lane. It's not because Artemis does not have an escape, very squishy, and Fafnir is an aggressive support, really goes in there. Artemis is not super aggressive early. You kind of have to be careful with her, put your volley when you want to, get a good trap, like, but she's not super aggressive. Rama can be very aggressive early, especially with a Fafnir. That lane is OP. That Fafnir and Rama lane is S plus, but Fafnir on his own, without maybe a basic attack hunter, is S in my opinion. Fenrir, very good, very strong early game. If he doesn't have a good early game, he will fall off. He falls off anyways. He's really just kind of a support jungler late game with his ultimate. That's really what he does. He's an ultimate machine. He kind of turns into Odin. Odin is an ultimate machine late game, so is Fenrir. But is still very strong and can carry if he gets off to a really good start. Freya is very, very strong. Another one of those that you have to watch out for because she's going to be in that tier with On Her and Apollo for ADCs that are getting picked after the top ADCs are banned. And Freya, if you're getting Freya as a backup and you are playing against someone, or let's say someone else uses Freya as a backup and they're really good with Freya, you have to watch out because a good Freya player will probably destroy you. She's a hyper carry. Her late game is amazing. She can just absolutely wreck, and when she gets huge, she gets huge. It's amazing. So be careful with Freya. Freya's also getting picked a lot. She's super popular right now. Geb. So Geb got some buffs. He's up here back in A+. They buffed the stun on his ultimate, I believe. They buffed the damage on his rollout, which is awesome. I thought that was a beautiful, beautiful buff. Like, that was great. I don't like Geb, but I think the fact that they made the initial damage from his rollout better, I think that was awesome. So he's doing pretty good. Still very passive early game, but his mid to late game is strong. Good for objective fights too. Just keep that in mind for supports. Guan Yu is great. Pretty good soul laner, but a better support god. Guan Yu is an amazing support. So his heal, I think, is better than Sylvanas'. That's the first thing. His Talu Assault almost clears the wave like level 1. Like it comes very close. It sets up the wave so well. It's also very aggressive ability. When you're playing against a Guan Yu and he comes at you with a Talu Assault, you just automatically back up and it makes you lose the lane. He can push lane so well with that ability. And I think a lot of it has a pretty good range on it. If you use that Talu Assault, you might not realize, but it has a pretty good range on it. So you can hit an enemy god from a pretty good distance. And that allows him to be very aggressive early. If you can get to lane early with Guan Yu and just push up, playing against Guan Yu is horrible because he's just going to keep healing the ADC, and any poke you get, it's just going to be eradicated by the heal. His ultimate just chases down. It's such a good way to initiate in lane as well. Like, his kit is perfect for dual lane, and I've been playing him a lot support. The only key to it is you have to match him with a magical ADC. So I said before, Fafnir Rama, best dual lane combo right now. The second best combo right now is Freya Guan Yu. By far, that lane is unstoppable. If you have not played Freya Guan Yu dual lane, you need to go do it because it's so much fun. You will wreck. Like, she has lifesteal. Guan Yu has a heal. They're both super aggressive. They can clear the wave super easily. It's awesome. But again, the key to using Guan support is there has to be a magical god in a role that they aren't usually there. So if you have an Ao Kuang jungle or magical soul lane or magical ADC, something like that, something off, then you can play Guan Yu. If not, you don't want to have 4 physicals on your team, so you got to be careful about that. Guan Yu, very good. Hades is extremely bad. In fact, Hades is C tier. Probably will get a rework at some point soon. Don't ever play Hades. He's actually really, really bad. Hebo is better. Hebo is annoying. I've been seeing a lot more Hebos recently. I think some gods have um, these weird things going on where if they haven't been played for a long time, someone might pull them out, and then you might just see them reemerge. I think that's what's happening with Hebo right now. Hebo has never been in the meta, like ever. At least I can't remember him ever being in the meta. And now people are playing him more. Maybe it's just a joke, but his poke is super annoying. And playing as a fed Hebo, let me tell you, it's so annoying when you get hit by a water spell, which by the way, like with cooldown can have like a 3 second cooldown. That ability can like one shot people, and it has like super low cooldown, so you can just keep doing it. And it's a long range poke, and if the Hebo knows like what he's doing and is good at aiming, like you're just gonna be it's just killing people like one after another. So it's kind of ridiculous. Um, so he's better, still not great. Like still can like in pro play Hebo is going to get focused super hard, uh, especially like a Fenrir. If you're playing Hebo and there's a Fenrir on the other team, like you're done. He's gonna wreck you. Hell is very bad, extremely bad. Do not play Hell. Like really, do not play her. She has to get so most soul laners they have some kind of long range ability, at least a little bit. Hell does not. She has to get in the middle of the wave to clear the wave, and that just puts her at such a disadvantage. In early game, they're going to focus you. Again, healers just don't belong in Conquest. They just don't. Even with the buffs, they just don't belong there. So do not play Hell. I really would not play her. Hercules is pretty good. You're not going to see him too often. In fact, you probably won't see him at all in the SPL. Um, but he's good. Hercules. I can't really say too much about him, to be honest. Hou Yi is S plus, in my opinion, the best god in the game right now. Um, if you have a player who knows how to do ricochets, Hou Yi is unstoppable. His early clear is good. His objective fights are amazing with his ultimates. Again, that's where the meta is right now. We're talking about objective, secure. Every pro player that I watch on stream at the Epsilon Invitational, if you watch those games, notice the objective fights. Notice how long they go, how people are just walking around the Gold Fury constantly and the Fire Giant constantly. Like that's where all the fighting's happening. Whereas, earlier, maybe early season 3 or season 2, whatever, there'd be a little bit more going on in the dual lane. There'd be more like jungle will be rotating more to the dual lane. But you're not seeing that as much. You're seeing a lot more just let me farm, farm, farm. And then once we get to the Gold Fury, that's when we're going to fight people. That's when the fight's going to go down. It's more of like a mid-game kind of thing right now with those objective fights. And the Gold Fury is being highly contested. So Hou Yi with his ultimates, especially since it's such a long-range ultimate, if let's say the enemy team's about to get a Gold Fury, you can just Hou Yi ults and get it done. And that's why he's amazing. So definitely the best god in the game, in my opinion. Hunbat's very strong. Again, great objective fight ultimate. It's always been a good ultimate in general. I also think that as you see the tank meta kind of go down, you're going to see a little bit less CC. So having the Hunbat's ults as another form of CC, I think, is just going to help you maybe make up for. Like let's say you have a Guan Yu support, doesn't have a lot of CC, or if you just have a generally low CC team, the Hunbat's ult will help with that. Isis, fortunately, is B plus. She just dropped off a whole lot, and no one really plays her. Her early game is good, but for some reason, she's just been forgotten. She's a forgotten god. So we'll see if she comes back. I really doubt it though. Janice is S tier. will always be S tier. Well, S or A plus. You know, he's always up there. He's so annoying. There would be times when like I'll play against Janice and I'll be like, oh, I don't really understand why Janice is super OP. And then there'll be other times when I play against a good Janice and I'm like, oh my god, this god is the most annoying god in the game. Like his two completely chunks people. His ultimate again chunks people is a great ganking tool. Um, and the thing about that is, you know, if you're in the mid lane against Janice, you can say that oh, enemy ultimate is incoming, but you'll never be able to rotate fast enough before that Janus has already done what he needs to do in the lane that he's ganked. So that gives you a huge advantage as Janus. You can just gank, get those kills. It's like guaranteed kills with that ultimate, and the other mid can't do anything about it. So Jingwei is very good. Another one of those like backup hunters. I think will be played quite a bit. A little bit tricky. They did fix her dash. They'd fix her ultimates, so they're a little bit less clunky. They're a little bit cleaner, so that's good. Kali is not very good. She's kind of with that Bakasura, Arachne, that crew of those basic attack junglers who, at the beginning of Season 3, were at the top of the pedestal and now are at the bottom. So that's unfortunate for her, but I don't hate it. I don't really like those basic attack junglers. Khepri is good. Khepri's not as good as he used to be. He's really not a good team fighter. He used to be a little bit better. I think because again people weren't super good at playing against his ultimate, but now Khepri's ultimate is actually not super great. It's very easy to not get it off on time because it doesn't have a casting time. It's also easy to on the enemy team to just let the ability wear off before attacking. I don't see many Khepri ults activate like anymore. Like you used to see them all the time. Now you don't because people are getting really good at avoiding it. So his team fight is not great. You really are looking for those aggressive supports right now. Fafnir super aggressive, Bacchus super aggressive, Athena super aggressive. Those are the ones you really want. Geb is an exception, but those passive supports aren't really in the meta at the moment. Kukulkan is probably B plus. Shouldn't be played in pro play really. You know, can do damage. Book of Thoth is OP on him, but not really, you know, too much to write home about. Kukulkan. Kumbhakarna, I think, is also pretty strong, up there with Khepri and Geb. Now I'm thinking about Khepri might be A tier. Yeah, I think Khepri is A tier, actually. So, because Kumbhakarna and Geb are better than him right now. And Bacchus. Kumbhakarna, great peel. Annoying CC, really good damage too. His damage is crazy. Like his ultimate, he can like kill people at 25% health with his ultimate, which I think is ridiculous. That should just be like a setup ability that ults, but I guess you know you gotta give him a little bit of damage. So he's got a lot going on for him. Very strong pick. Loki is no. Don't pick Loki. Loki, people are like, oh, maybe Loki will get a rework. He'll never, I don't think he'll ever get a rework. Loki is just that god that is going to go down in history as the one that everyone hates. If you play Loki and you think you're good, you're not. You're just playing against really bad players who don't know what they're doing. And it's really annoying to be on a team that doesn't know how to handle a Loki. Of course, how do you handle any god that's not supposed to be good? You focus them early. That's what you do with a Loki. Don't let him get you. Like, don't let him kill you. Steal his farm away, too. Like, make sure he doesn't get any farm. That kind of stuff. Medusa is good. I wish she was in a better spot. I don't think she will see too much play. She's unfortunately, I was hype about her. I thought, you know, Transcendence meta was coming back. Now it's not as much of a Transcendence meta. It's more of like do what you want meta. Death's Toll is almost just as good. That's why like on her Apollo, Rama, they're doing just as good as Transcendence Hunters right now. So you can't say that Medusa is supposed to be better because she's a Transcendence Hunter. It's just not true. So because of that she's fallen off. Mercury is well, he got some buffs, right? Yeah, he got some buffs. I don't see him though. I still think he's bad. I don't think you should play Mercury. But that's okay. Neath is very good. I've just been seeing so many Neiths shred recently. She's definitely a top pick. I'm gonna leave her an A plus though. I don't think she's quite S tier. Not like the best hunter. Am I missing an S tier hunter? I might be. Oh yeah, no, I know who I'm gonna put there. Neith, very good early game. And you know, you get a Neith and a Kumbhakarna together, or a Neith and a Fafnir even, like that lane Neith Fafnir lane is gonna be just dope. So you know, she's just great, and the fact that she has that stun and her weaves, you know, together with that extra damage, it's just like she's crazy. So Nemesis is awesome. She's almost S plus. She's top jungler because, as I said, you know, most pros would put Ao Kuang in A plus tier. Nemesis is currently the best jungler in my opinion. Um, she has so much lockdown with her ultimates, and she has great mobility. Um, and she's really like she's a comfort pick in the sense that you know you have to know how to play her. You have to be in that kind of mindset to play Nemesis. She's not one of those that you're just gonna go out and be like, I'm just gonna go one shot people, whatever. That's not really what she does. She's more of kind of a defensive kind of jungler, which I really like that role. Almost like Thor. You kind of compare it to Thor. Thor can be tanky, you know, but also do what he needs to do. So that's why I really like her. Naja is not good. I mean, not bad. Sorry, is A tier, is okay. Was really good for a long time, but he's too squishy. I think that they're just better, and that's why I think Nemesis is the number one because she's tanky. I think Susano is also kind of like a little tanky, you know, warrior type of assassin. Whereas Naja is just a glass cannon. His kit is not as reliable as Nemesis or Susano, so it's a little tricky playing Naja. Nox is okay. Um, I've been seeing a lot more pro players, a lot play Nox in streams. That doesn't really mean anything. Of course, like Pretty Prime, you watch Pretty Prime, he plays like Anubis every game. MLC Self plays Nox. Yaman has been playing Nox. Pretty Prime has been playing Nox. I'm a support player, but mid is like my first love. I like to play mid a lot, so I watch a lot of mid laners, and I've been seeing many of them play Nox. So does that mean she'll get played? Maybe. Maybe, I doubt it, but she will be in B plus for now. Nuwa is good. People thought Nuwa was going to be like back in the meta. She kind of is. She kind of isn't. I still think her early game is super weak. She can be ganked. She has no escape, really. Um, Again, if you focus on Nuwa, she's probably going to not do well. She's another one of those guys that she's not good playing behind. Her kid just doesn't allow for it, really. So she can struggle if she falls behind. Uh, Odin is good. A tier, not the best soul laner, but can perform well, especially if you are playing against a healer, which isn't going to be very often. But you know, he can do what he can do. It's amazing how like 2 3 months ago he was like S plus tier, like broken because of that new passive, but now it's like, oh, the passive's good, but it's not like game breaking. Osiris is going to be one of your top soul laners for sure, up there with Amaterasu. Can go toe to toe with anyone. Very good harassment. It's kind of like a big bully along with Ravana. Um, so Amaterasu, Osiris, Ravana, I think are going to be your top three soul laners right now. Um, so that's good. I like Osiris a lot. I think he has a really fun kit. Poseidon is not great, you know, has that ultimate, but in pro play, people are going to eat just out of it. And again, doesn't have a good escape, is very slow, so you can just focus Poseidon early. Um, Ra, is A tier. Is probably the best healing mage in the game. Uh, but you know his ultimate misses a lot. His one can miss a lot too. It's mainly just a wave clear kind of thing. He did get a buff to his passive, which I think is why he might be an A tier, but you know, not the best god in the world. Raijin is the best mage besides Janus. I think they're both even actually. Janus and Raijin are super popular at the moment. Very, very popular. Uh, if you don't see a Raijin on the team, you're probably going to see a Janus. So that is good. I think both of those deserve that S tier spot. Um, Very good lockdown with his ultimates. great poke with his 1 and his in the 2 combo, and also a lot of CC with his ultimate as well. So Rama. So Rama is going to be my top tier hunter besides Hou Yi. Rama's clear again with Fafnir is broken. It's very, very good. He just can carry super hard, is doing very well. And, you know, you play against a good Rama player, you're in big trouble. So Rama is definitely up there right now with that death toll start. Ratatoskr, I think is A. I really don't think he's A plus anymore. I'm never scared of a Ratatoskr when I see him. I don't think his damage is really crazy anymore. I think it's good, but it's not game breaking. You know, his kit does what it needs to do. He has a good escape with his ultimate. Um, but he's not. I think there are just better junglers out there. Ravana is going to be another one of my picks for top soul laners, as I said. So Ravana, Osiris, Amaterasu. Ravana can have trouble in lane if he's not against a god that he can box. Um, so if he's against like a hunter or even a mage, he actually will have a little bit more trouble because you know, his focus is going to be on boxing against someone and then being able to clear the wave as he does it. But if he goes after like a mage early or an ADC early, they're probably going to take him down. So he really has to rely on being able to survive against like a low damaging kind of like warrior or medium damage warrior, and being able to just harass them first. But he has a great lockdown with his abilities, and a good escape as well, and a good that CC immunity is just really really helpful. Um, Scylla is all right. I would put her in A tier. Uh, she just fell off because of the whole power pot thing. I don't really have too much to say about her. Like, you can pick her if you want. I don't think she's the best mage, but she could definitely be played. Serket A tier, pretty good. I think she's coming back a little bit. I'm seeing saw Weekend play her a little bit. I think I saw um, DJ Pernicus play her a little bit. So I think, you know, she's going to come back more in the meta. Maybe one day she'll come back to being like the super OP god that she used to be. But for right now, she sits in A tier. Scotty is not great. I like never see Scotty anymore. Really, really rare. You know, great lane push, but there are other hunters out there who have equally good lane push, but also have better mobility, better survivability, better late game than her. So just doesn't really make sense to play her. Sobek, very, very strong. Either A plus or A tier for Sobek for me. I'm actually going to put him in A tier. I do think that he is very good, but not quite Bacchus, Geb, Kumba level. I think putting him on the same tier as Khepri makes sense. Again, Sobek on her lane is a very strong lane, very good aggressive lane, but is not top tier. Like, not really. His pluck can be a little clunky. You have to make sure you use it the right way. His ultimate does do a lot of damage, but it can also put him in trouble by taking a lot of damage by kind of immersing himself in that team fight for a long period of time. So you have to be careful with that. And but other than that, he does have a very good kit. Soul is going to be an A plus. You're going to see a lot more Soul mid, I think, coming up in the SPL. Maybe some Soul ADC, probably not as much. It's going to be more Soul mid, in my opinion. She's going to be a very good flex pick. In fact, I would expect Yaman to play her quite a bit. Maybe Funballer will pull her out in the dual lane, but we'll see what happens with that. But she's very good. She's another great backup pick, along with Freya. Sun Wukong, A tier. You're going to see him a little bit. You saw him get played in the Epsilon Invitational. Um, you know, there are some soul laners that just love Wukong, but there's nothing, you know, he does what he needs to do. That's really all you can say about Wukong. Not amazing damage, but does what he needs to do. Susano, I'll put in A plus. Still very good. I think that's a good spot for him. I think that's where he should stay. Is still annoying to play against, though. Um, he has a lot of CC, has a lot of lockdown. His ultimate is a good, big, huge knockup. So if you have like a Bacchus with a Susano, that's just so many knockups. The enemy team might as well just spend the entire game in the air if you have those gods together. So very good, good escape as well with the storm and also the kata with the dash. He's very mobile. Sylvanas. Unfortunately, Sylvanas has to be B tier. I like Sylvanas a lot. He's probably my favorite god, but he is so slow and he's just a big tree who cannot escape. It's really sad to see that, and his abilities don't make up for it. If you have like a really slow god, you kind of want to have some abilities that can make up for it. Zeus, for instance, is very slow. So Zeus is a snail, but he has a shitload of damage, so it makes up for it. Sylvanas does not have anything to make up for the fact that he's a big slow tree. His heal is okay, it's not great. His knockup is very strong, but his pull is terrible. It's like the worst pull in the game. I mean, it's strong when you hit it, but you can miss it so easily, and it's not worth it. And his AOE alt is his AOE basic attack is also just a little weird. It's awkward. It gives you a little bit of extra range for your basic attacks, but you don't really need that. I don't think that it's crucial. So Sylvanas, besides having maybe a little bit of advantage early clear, doesn't have any advantage anywhere else. So fortunately, he's going to be in the B tier. Thanatos, I think, is B plus. In the SPL, he's definitely a troll pick. So be careful with him. But he can be played in casuals and do okay. Just he can also feed very easily, similar to like Naja. Thor is going to be probably your top. Thor, yeah, Thor's going to be up there. Thor's probably S tier along with Alquang and Nemesis. Thor is just one of those picks that there's so many players in the SPL who rely on Thor. Like that's their god. Like Anninster, Adapting, Homie FA, like all these huge junglers. That's the god that they like use all the time. Like every game they pick Thor. You'll see like teams first pick Thor, and that's just gonna keep happening. You're not gonna see Thor drop off ever. They're just too comfortable. Even if Thor got some like crazy nerf, because of how comfortable these players are with Thor, they're just going to keep picking him over and over. So he's gonna be definitely a top pick for sure. Tier is good, not great. I do like. I think Variety is the soul laner for. Oh no, it's not him. He was the soul laner for Hungry for More. I think he got kicked though. That player played a very good tier. Um, there's some other really good tier. Dimmy is an amazing tier, of course. Divios is a great tier. All these players. But tier is not even close to being in the top pick right now. So he probably won't get too much play. We'll see. Ullr is good. You're seeing Ullr a lot more. I don't think that Ullr will be a prevalent force in the SPL. Maybe he will, and I'm completely wrong. There was some Ullr play in the Epsilon Invitational, I think, but yeah, I don't think he's going to be huge. He's definitely better than he was, but you also have to be very good at the game to play Ullr. So Vamana is going to be also A tier. Um, in the same spot as tier, was very good at the beginning of season 3, mainly because the string split saw a lot of soul laners experimenting, playing whatever they felt like, and they were just dominating with everyone. So that's why like tier, Vamana, Ravana, like all of them were just doing very well. But now that we've had a little bit of time to rest from the SPL, we're able to kind of adapt our meta and figure out who really is the best. So Vulcan, I think, is good, has good burst, is actually great at defending towers with his turret and his ultimate. Um, has a little bit of trouble early. He really has to use a lot of mana. The new passive did help him a lot with the mid-season update, but he doesn't have an escape. Very squishy, can get focused, so you got to be really careful with him. You really have to have a good jungler mixed with a Vulcan. Um, One of the best matchups that I like with Vulcan is actually Fenrir, because you can just ult someone with Fenrir, and then that guarantees that you'll hit your Vulcan ult, because the Fenrir ult lasts long enough that he can just hold someone in his mouth, and then you can Vulcan ult them. I really like that combo. Shivalanke is A tier. Will probably not get played at all in the SPL. His early game is just too bad. It's not good at all. You mix him up with a Fafnir, he might do all right, but it's tricky with him. He's good late game carry, but his early game is too weak. in order to justify it. Xing Chen, for some reason I'm seeing more Xing Chen like in Soul Lane. I don't know why. He gets like right every time. Kind of interesting, but Xing Chen is okay. Ultimate is still really bad. Emir is also B plus. Too slow, easily ganked, has kind of Sylvanas syndrome where, he's just a big huge doofus, and you're like, if the jungler comes in and decides he's gonna kill him, what's Emir gonna do? Like nothing. So he's just not optimal. It's better to have a support with some kind of escape or some kind of mobility, whether it be a Khepri dash or Kumba dash or something. Get rollout, like just not Emir. So Zeus is going to drop to the A tier. Still has good damage, um, but is just not optimal. I've literally seen zero Zeus like in the last couple months, like maybe month or so. Zero Zeus, kind of strange. And then Zhongkui I think is A. Maybe B plus, kind of the bottom of the A tier in my opinion. Zhongkui, again, never gonna see Zhongkui in the SPL like ever, but can do well. He can do what he needs to. So there we go. That's the tier list that I have for this upcoming patch. So it's gonna be a couple days. The patch has actually not been released yet, but this is hopefully kind of my precursor for the SPL coming up. Hopefully you found some of the insights helpful. If you did, let me know. I would love to hear it. And if you have any other opinions, please, put them in the comments so I can hear what you guys feel about the current meta, where you think that the game is. And of course, keep in mind, this is a conquest, mainly pro, somewhat ranked as well, mixed in tier list. So do not apply this to casual play at all. If you're a casual player only, do what you want and have fun. So I thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.